So imagine this scenario. You go up to someone and you're having a conversation, and the topic of a particular person comes up. And the person that you're talking to says, "Oh, I love so and so. They're great. I mean, they're a liar and they're a con artist, but man, I think they're awesome. They're just the best, right? I mean, they're really good, right?" Nobody would say that, would they? And the funny thing is that's what so many people say about Jesus. They'll say, "Yeah, Jesus was a good man." But if they don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, then doesn't that make him a liar and a con artist? At least that's what C.S. Lewis said, or he could have been crazy. But that's what people do with Jesus. And it kind of amazes me sometimes that people would do that. Because a good person is not a liar and a con artist. So, they might need to think about that a little bit. But John, in his second letter, in verse 7, talks about a group of people that are going around and they are intentionally ignoring an important part of Jesus. So, let's read it. I say this, now remember, John had just told us how important it was to walk in love, okay? And we've been talking about truth and we've been talking about love. And in verse 7 he says, "I say this," as in walk in love. That's how you know that others, that's how we know that we're followers of Christ, as we walk in obedience and follow love. "I say this because many deceivers who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh have gone out into the world. Any such person is the deceiver and the antichrist." Okay, so we got a couple things here. Well, so first of all, the thing that's amazing to me is when you look at this, the first half of the verse, you've got these people that have gone out into the world that are proclaiming Jesus, and they're not actually proclaiming Jesus. They're proclaiming part of Jesus, the part of Jesus they like. I'm not really sure what it is, but these Gnostics just flat out refuse to believe that Jesus came in the flesh because in their world, flesh was sin. And so they would go out and they would teach a partial Jesus. Well, here's the thing. If we're just like those people if you say, "Well, Jesus is a good man, but I don't believe who he is. He says who he is." You don't get it both ways. We either get to do all or none. And as a result of that, we become deceived ourselves. And as a result of that, we become deceivers and antichrist, as it says at the end of verse 7. Now, when he says the deceiver and the antichrist, it actually could say a deceiver and an antichrist, to be grammatically correct. It's not talking about the capital A antichrist in this situation. It's talking about anybody who spreads a false gospel, who is against who Jesus is, hence the antichrist aspect of it. But remember, if we have been deceived, then we can go and we can unintentionally deceive others. I remember as a young man, and I guess things haven't changed a whole lot, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but someone that I trusted came up to me and was telling me that McDonald's was owned by the Church of Satan. And me being the impressionable young person that I am, I believed it. I know. Now, the McRibs are sinfully good, but I'm pretty sure that it doesn't mean they're a part of the Church of Satan. And so then I, being deceived on this, became a deceiver because I made a comment to another adult about that. And they called me on it, fortunately. And they said, "Really? Where's this at?" Now, this is right when the internet started, so it was really hard to do searches, but they did a search. And guess what? Turns out McDonald's is not actually owned by the Church of Satan. But I believed a false truth, and so then I carried on that false truth. We have to be really careful, and we have to be watch, as he says in verse 8, "What you do not lose, what we have worked for, but that you may be fully awarded." See, what John is telling us here is that we can now identify truth in verses 1 through 4 by the love. We know truth by the love that we share with other people, that we walk in love. But now John is saying you have to learn how to identify truth. You have to learn how to look and see and understand that Jesus is not half of who he is. He's not a fraction of who he is. He is all of who he is. And if someone tries to share a gospel that is not the truth, then we have to be careful. Paul warned about this. I mean, it's all throughout Scripture that tells us, watch out so that you're not deceived. And there's a reason why this comes out. And that's because we honestly, as Christians, are a little gullible sometimes. We want to believe anything that will further our agenda. And, well, we're going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow and see if we can find some things that help identify those that are actually not following Christ the way they should be and have now, unfortunately, become deceivers.